Hello, beautiful people. Have my rocking chair with me tonight. How's everyone feeling? It's Sunday. So I have a very, 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 very special guest tonight. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So shout out to my dad. If people don't know already from looking at my flyer, yes, I'm interviewing my dad tonight. I'm super excited about that because my dad has had a long, wonderful, amazing career, and he's now finally getting into his second chapter where he doesn't have to work for the man anymore. We're all taken care of. All the kids are grown up, so my dad's running his business and doing his thing. So that's who's coming on tonight. But before I have my dad join, I just wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of things. I'm looking to expand my show. I'm looking to collab with people. I've mainly just been doing the show by myself. So I'm looking to collab with other like YouTube people or people that have podcasts, people that have their own show, radio, anything you guys are doing and you're looking for someone to come on or looking for someone, that you think would be a good fit, hit my phone. I'm definitely looking to do other things, looking to expand more. And I'm looking to, of course, showcase the community. So if you guys have any cool projects coming out or you have a business that you think would be cool for like my audience to, tune into, then please DM me after this because I definitely want to start working with more people and I want to get more exposure. Come on, you got to put on for me. I'll put on for you. You put on for me. What's good, Var? I see you doing your thing. So I'm gonna add my dad in 1 second. So yeah, to reiterate, if you have a new project and you want it to be showcased, please let me know. And I'm also about to drop my website as well. I'm working on it now. And I'm looking to start doing reviews of everything, of movies, television, music. It's gonna be like my own personal blog. Hi. So yeah, tune in for that. Stay tuned. And at the end of this video or during it, I'm going to put my dad's law office information because he does have a law office. So give me 1 sec. All right, I'm going to add my dad in. You guys like my setup? Got my rocking chair. Hey!
I love this.
How you
Yeah,
feeling,
that's better.
Pop?
Fantastic.
Hey! You might have to turn your phone.
This way?
There you go.
All right.
Perfect. Hey, how you guys? Okay, so welcome, Etzel Brown. Woo. If you want to just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, say hi, introduce.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Etzel Brown. As she already indicated to you, I'm her father, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll let her proceed. I'll let you proceed with your line of questioning in terms of what you want to come out.
Okay, so the reason I brought my dad on to the show is because I realized a lot of the advice that I've gotten is from him, and he's helped me like steer through this young adult life that we have. So I thought it would be cool if my dad could share his insight with you guys and kind of drop some gems on, business ventures, having an entrepreneurial spirit while still maintaining a 9 to 5, because my dad did that for many years. And just if you're interested in starting a business, my dad worked at a pretty cool place for 28 years. So yeah, I really thought it was important for my dad to come and share his vision. So yeah, if you just want to kind of tell a little bit about yourself and what you're doing right now, business-wise during COVID.
Okay. I'll start off with, I recently retired from the U.S. Small Business Administration in Washington. I served there for just under 29 years. I'm still young. But I'm sure a lot of you here, your parents or older people, or if there's some people my age here, they'll know what I'm talking about, that it's just hard to believe how fast time goes by. I can remember, I won't say it seems like yesterday, but it doesn't seem like almost 29 years ago that I started work there in Washington. I remember coming down. I'm originally from Montclair in Plainfield, New Jersey, coming down here from there, and the time went by like the snap of a finger. So I guess the first thing I want to say to everybody out there, young, old, and anybody in between, is there's no time like today. Um, we can always look back on yesterday. We can always plan for the future, but you got to take care of business today because, whatever dreams or aspirations that you may have, it's great to plan for them, but always make sure that you're putting in work today for what you want to achieve tomorrow, because life is too short. I don't care if you live to be 50 or 100; it's going to go by fast. And we all have things that we want to do in this life. We all have dreams and aspirations, and don't let anybody separate you from your dream or your aspiration. Um, I always tell all my kids, including Gabrielle, but especially my youngest son now, since he's still here with me, he's 15,
God bless you.
is is don't get in your own way. So I guess what I'm saying is don't ever let yourself be the reason why you don't get what you want.
Yeah,
And
you
yeah,
so say, just to cut in, I would
yeah,
hate for you to have to tell me about myself. But then I started thinking that's not like a good mindset to have for longevity, because you're supposed to be told about yourself. You're supposed to be told on what you can improve on. And, for a while I just thought, no, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. But no, it's very important to be able to have your ears open and listening to what people have to say.
right. Um, Again, I'll plug back in terms of my tenure at SBA. A lot of people are here, just under 30 years. Boy, that's a long time. But as I indicated, it went by very quickly. Myself, I've been blessed. I've had a very blessed life. I really have. I had the greatest parents you could hope to have. That were always there, supportive, and standing by me, and always willing to give me advice to help me move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And one thing that is important, especially for any parents are out there, or even colleagues, always feed somebody on the positive tip. Oh, always feed the positive, because you hear bad things or negativity long enough. For the most part, most people, it's going to impact them.
Yeah.
So always be positive, and go for what you want. I'll let you elaborate in before I get on the roll.
Look, did you see me? I was sitting back. I'm like, well, go ahead. Gift of Etzel.
Yeah, yeah.
So actually I have a bunch of questions I'm gonna ask.
Okay.
So I know, you were working at SBA for a very long time, and I just wanted to know, what were some obstacles you found as a Black man working in that type of position? Did you face any?
Where do I begin?
That was
Well, let
very
me let me.
one that stuck out in your mind, like being a Black man and working during those times? Because this was what, maybe during the 80s and 90s, right? Or
Yeah,
90s, early 2000s.
I'll give you the untold story,
Yeah.
and that is the best thing about where I'm situated at now. As you know, and I will share with your audience. I've always been an entrepreneur, always, and I elaborated somewhat about how blessed I was with my family and how they always encouraged me and supported me. Before I started with SBA, I had a business. I was doing financial services,
Right.
but I was scratching and crawling with that business, and I was doing some other, work to help support myself. So that's one of the reasons why I came down to SBA, because I had a fairly good background. Um, I had a master's degree in public administration and a law degree,
Ooh.
and I say this to Gabrielle all the time. I had to put in for about 160 or 70 jobs before I got the job I got in Washington in the early 90s. So that relates to always being focused, and keep your eye on the prize.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Um,
I had a hard time after school finding a job. And that was hard for me because of this the particular field that I'm in, working in media. A lot of times you have to create your own jobs. But that's
Right.
more stuff. But when you were applying to these jobs, you were always told, go to school, get your degree, and you'll have a job waiting for you the moment you get your degree. And that's just not how things work. But you can continue on.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But, even during down times, there's always opportunity. There's opportunity right now. I mean, it looks gloom and doom, but I assure you there's some folks that are doing very well because they figured out a niche or already had a niche to prosper. But
Yeah.
to tie in once again what your original question was about being a black male working for the federal government, I've always been outspoken, but I will say that during my tenure at SBA, especially with the family, with Gabrielle as well as three other children, that I had to make sure that I had my position. So a lot of times, some things that may have happened at work, I spoke up. I never bit my tongue, but I didn't speak up as much as
Right.
anybody that follows me on social media now, might think I'm the head of the Black Panthers or something like that.
Yeah,
But
seriously.
but I'm free to totally express how I feel and not have any inhibitions. But I will say, as a black male in I won't say a corporate organization because it's the federal government. Uh,
Yeah.
you do run into situations where it's quite obvious that there's some discrimination there, and that they have offices that you're to go to. But I will say this too, like any or most organizations, it's all the buddy system. So, I've seen situations, and I may have some people on here from SBA now that are listening, but I'm going to be a straight shooter. You'll have some people that are in the very office that's charged with policing discrimination that are part of the problem as opposed to part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew colleagues that wouldn't even go to the appropriate office because they were concerned about getting blackballed.
Mm. And I feel like that happens, way more often than people talk about it because it's not something that
Right.
people talk about, of course. But to correlate with that, okay, so as a black man, you had obstacles, but then again, on the flip side, as a black man, do you think that you were also given specific type of treatment for being a black man, whether it's positive or negative?
Again, I'll say for the most part, the treatment was fair. It was. So I don't want to make it come across like,
Oh,
there was a blatant problem, but there's definitely situations there where there were individuals uh, that had issues. That's the best way to put it.
okay, okay.
And right, some people may choose to kind of dance around those individuals. And I think folks that work with me will see that for the most part, I was pretty low key while I was at SBA. But whenever there was let's say, a headbutting, um, I butted back.
Oh, now I know where I get that from. Um, so I want to know, you always said that you had an entrepreneurial spirit. And of course, I would say in your time, not specifically this one, um, keep your job, of course, to keep the family afloat. Uh, so, I want to ask you, would you suggest for people to continue on with their 9 to 5, giving their energy to someone, and then coming home to work on their, entrepreneurial side hustle? Or would you suggest someone to just quit it? Of course, have saved up cash, but to put their energy into time into starting their own business.
I would say that there is no one definitive answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I would say is it depends on your circumstances,
Yeah.
and it depends how much risk you're willing to take. On one hand, it's easy to say, I just want to pursue my dream. I'm just going to drop everything. But again, if you have certain obligations, it makes it more difficult to do that. Now, I'll take my own situation. In hindsight, who knows if I had left earlier, I may have been able to develop some of the businesses that I'm developing further now,
Mm-hmm.
several years ago. But, I don't have any regrets because like anything else, you weigh, what are the positives, what are the negatives, and you just live with that decision. And I would say, that decision isn't made in stone or in rock. You make that evaluation based on your resources and what's happening with your family or significant other at the time. and move onward. But one thing I will say, while I on the roll about the entrepreneurial side of things, um, that there's an old saying that, if you go to a tree, the fruit is out on the branches and you have to go out and reach to get get the fruit. The fruit's not at the trunk of the tree, and it's the same in life. For the most part, if you really want to achieve, you've got to reach. You can't stay in your comfort zone. So you have to temper, what you want to do, your resources available. But again, just like with investments, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt when I moved from Frederick to College Park. I had to weigh out my options because when I finished school, I had my degree, everything was great, but as I'm weighing my options, I'm living in a small town. So what really are my options there? So in order to risk it all, I had to make that decision to pack my things up and move somewhere I'm not too familiar with, but it's close enough to home where I'm still comfortable. But it was definitely something that I personally had to do to step out of my comfort zone. And I'm so glad I did, because if I wouldn't have, I don't know if I would have came this far or be talking right here, right now with my platform. I definitely can relate to, taking the risk. So after you retired, I know you were working on your financial services, throughout my entire life. But you also owned a Liberty Tax. So do you want to kind of talk about that? Because I know you owned it. I remember being young, and my first time marketing was when you gave me out in the Liberty outfit because, we had to get business. And I'm like 7, 8 years old. And I think about that now and I'm like, that was my first time marketing. Wearing the Liberty Tax outfit and going out to market to give people the flyers to say, come support my dad's business. So how was it owning a business during that time?
Well, see, now your friends are finding out where you got your hustle from.
Yeah, I could say
Uh,
self-made.
well, one thing I'll say is, you may have some of your audience that, either have participated, worked at a franchise, or may have even owned a franchise. One thing I'll say about my experience with Liberty Tax, as a franchise is just be careful when you enter into a franchise because, you know, and again, I'm going to speak about Liberty more so. And again, you can't apply what, my circumstance with every other Liberty or every other franchise. But one thing I would say is just be careful because all that glitters isn't gold. And by that, what I mean is with a franchise, the best thing about it is you're getting an enterprise that has instant name recognition. So when I acquired, my franchise and it was in Annapolis, Maryland, anybody that knows where Festival at Riva is, that's where I was at. I was at Festival at Riva in Annapolis. And, my wife, God bless her, she was my real rock. She basically managed it because this was when I was working full time, obviously at SBA,
I
and
remember.
was doing my financial services as well, my investments, etc. So, she would run the business during the day, and I would come over there when I got off from SBA. So there were some very long days during tax season.
Yeah.
But again, tying together, a franchise as an enterprise, you're getting an entity that has a recognized name. So when you hear Liberty Tax, you know what it is. But the thing is, with a franchise, you have to pay certain fees up front to buy it, and then you're going to have to pay certain fees ongoing every year. Now, with this particular franchise, you bore all the expenses. So you had to kick out a certain amount regardless of how much you made every year. So if you didn't make a dime, you had to kick out a certain amount of money and you had to bear all the expenses. You're talking about marketing. You had to bear the marketing, the cost of the building that you were in, everything. You had to pay for everything. So again, it's a balance between that name that you're getting, what you're really getting, and the expenses that you have to bear. So it was still a very good experience. Like you said, it was nothing like being out there waving with that Liberty Tax outfit on. I can't tell you how many times I had come home, come to work, come to the Liberty Tax franchise after working at SBA all day. And, we paid, people to waive. We had a cast of waivers, but sometimes waivers would just quit on the spot. You wouldn't,
So
and
do
you
it.
couldn't get anybody else to come in. So I would come home, come to the office, take off my suit, and I'd be out there with my Liberty outfit waving away, because that was the number way. People may laugh, but hands down, that was the number way of getting clients. Beat everything. I tried it all: radio, newspapers, everything, and that waiver, beat them all.
Wow, that's a lot. So what's the upside to having a franchise? Because it sounds like there's a lot of initial costs that go into it and costs to keep it up. But what's an upside to having a franchise? I know
I
it's
would
a
say the upside is kind of obvious. If you get the right franchise, and the other thing is, it's just like real estate. Everything is location, location, location. Um, I would just suggest that you really do your homework. That's the bottom line. You really have to do your homework. And again, like anything else, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. So, if you go to get a franchise opportunity and they're going to paint the road gold, you're going to think it's the best thing on earth. And it may be the best thing on earth, but you really have to do your due diligence. Maybe talk with some other franchise owners not in your area, so they don't feel like, they can't talk. And really look at the numbers. And you really have to make a value determination, as opposed to what you think it's going to be. What is it? What has been the past history? And what do the numbers tell you?
Dropping gems for him, Dad. Mr.
I learned, look, I used to have hair.
Let's see what word of mouth is still the best method of marketing. That is very, very, very true. You have self-awareness. Yeah, okay, okay. Well, thank you guys for the comments. And relating back to a business, so you were working your 9 to 5 and still having your business on the side. What type of energy and dedication did it take to do something like that? Because 5 cups of coffee can only take you so far. It's more than that. It's more than having the energy. What and money, of course, profit. But what was that goal that you were reaching for doing all of this?
You know, everybody has a how can I say, a personal mission or a personal objective. Everybody has a different one, whatever that may be, but everybody has something that they want to do in this life. And while, even when I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to do something well, and I wanted to have some kind of business. So again, to kind of tie things together, after I got out of school, and that includes law school, I didn't really want to be a lawyer downtown. That I had no interest at all in hanging the shingle and doing divorces and running around chasing ambulances. I didn't interest me at all. That's how I got. That's how I fell into the financial planning, because I found that interesting. There were several areas in financial planning, investments, insurance, estate planning. There's several things, so it's very interesting. So that's why I became more involved with that, even than in practicing when I got out of school in the years when I first got out.
100
Again, excuse me?
when you got out of school 100 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, for me, it doesn't feel so long ago. Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience? Because I know you had previously told me, I think when I was a little bit younger, when you were in law school, the amount of Black people that you saw when you were going to law school, what was that experience like? Because it's very different now. I know plenty of Black men and Black women who are going to law school. It's normal. But maybe back then it wasn't as, I don't want to use the term normal.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean. As prominent, I should say.
Well, let me say this. I was an affirmative action law student. I had good grades, and I'm keeping it the way it is. I had good grades in undergrad and grad school. I had very good grades, but the law school was very competitive, and I got in. It's not like I didn't have the qualifications to get in. I did. But I guess I can kind of summarize law school in this way.
Okay.
I don't even know if you knew this. I was the president of the Black Law Student Association. at the
No,
University of Toledo. Yeah, I didn't think you did.
any alphas watching, my dad is
Yeah,
part of the
yeah,
alpha, Phi
yeah.
alpha.
I was the president of the Black Law Student Association in my last year, and there
Wow.
were there were three black graduates out of a class of about 180 in my
True.
law school.
And
Yeah,
the thing is, that sounds about right.
yeah.
But do you remember any other minorities, or are you only able to remember?
No, I will say there were, probably again 2 or 3 Hispanic individuals as well. Yeah, maybe 4, but there weren't a lot. Let's put it that way. But one
Yeah.
thing I will say, you know, I think for the most part the experience was good, and I really didn't, feel any prejudice, even though there were very few of us
Oh,
there. But I will say, more so on the regular campus than on the, at the law school, because we were kind of off from the camp. We were on campus, but we were way on the end, almost like away from the regular campus. I
yeah.
experienced more there than I did at law school.
Huh. Well, that's interesting to hear. I didn't think I knew that. Is that when you
Yeah.
were working with Bell?
No, not really. No, because that Taco Bell was in the hood.
You Taco Bell was in the hood.
Yeah,
Hey, they said it's a Brown family affair. Um,
yeah.
so working for the SBA, I know, growing up, I didn't know much about what you did. I knew you traveled a lot and something about loans. I didn't know much about what you did. But working
Mhm.
for the SBA, do you think that in any way it inspired you more to want to work with your business? Because, you are a small business working for the Small Business Administration. So did any of that inspire you to want to push forward for your own business?
Um, I, that's hard to say, and I'll tell you why. When I first got my position at SBA, as I said, I was putting in at all kinds of agencies, and I almost got a job at the General Accounting Office. I
Okay.
finished I all but got the job there like about 2 or 3 weeks before I got the job at SBA. So it was
Wow.
purely coincidental that I got it at SBA. But again, my interest was in business, so I think that's why my background lended itself more to SBA than the General
Okay.
Accounting Office. Yeah. But of
Okay.
course, once I got there, it was the perfect match. And that's why I stayed at the SBA as opposed to going to another agency, maybe to get a promotion somewhere else, because I like being at a business organization and I liked helping small businesses. I like seeing people, just like I had my own aspirations, people that I work with or people that I engage with that were looking to reach their dream. It felt good helping them reach their dream.
That's how I feel. That's why I was like, I definitely am my father's daughter, as you guys, because I have the need, I have the itch for helping or working with small businesses as well. Um, so I kind of want to move things to a different way.
All
I
right.
want to more about your politics, and I know you had written on what you had given me about civil rights. So I wanted you to kind of give you the floor to talk about how do you feel about the current climate going on right now for Black Americans?
All right.
I know. Way to switch things up, guys.
No, that's a topic that's near and dear to my heart.
Hmm.
Um,
How
you
many
can
days
get, go
election?
on. Excuse me?
How many days until the election?
99
Countdown on Facebook.
now,
You,
99,
you've been counting down for a year, I think.
over a year.
So every day it started at like 400 and something, and now we're down to 99 days. So
Oh
you
no.
up on that.
Well, it's on my mind every day. It's not like I'm losing sleep over it, but I think everybody, regardless of your politics, though I'm sure there's a certain slant to your audience in terms of their political stances, how important this election is. In my opinion, this is the most important election, hands down. There is no second place
Nope.
in my lifetime. And I know there's a lot of people on here a lot younger than me, so there's no question in your lifetime. And we can't fall asleep at the wheel. I get passionate about this because, I look at my parents and my grandparents, and all my family, aunts and uncles, etc. Not to mention, we're all familiar with our own history, probably not as much as we should be, but we're familiar with it. And again, you look at the fact that this is 2020, and you see the kind of foolishness that's taken place in front of us. And a lot of it is not new. It's just that social media and cell phones have shined a bright light on things that have been going on forever.
Yeah.
And, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, especially when we have individuals of different pigmentations that are also on board with the fight.
Yeah.
And we've got to take advantage of it. For America, when I say we, I'm talking about everybody, for America to live up to its ideals, because there's nothing, again, you hear my background, I'm not going to brag about it, but, I got an undergraduate and degree in public administration, I've got a master's degree in public administration, and I have a law degree. So much of my training has been involved in the structure and organization of our government and how it's supposed to work, how the Constitution is supposed to be implemented, as well as the case law that's been developed over the years by the Supreme Court. And there's so much hypocrisy in this country, it almost makes me get sick here on this program, because part of the problem is we're not holding our leadership accountable. We
At all.
can't keep pointing out them and sitting at the dinner table
We
and
have to.
being mad and posting and not doing anything about it. All these protests out in the street, and believe me, I'm out in the street myself. My office in DC is a half a block from Black Matters Plaza. It's a half a block away from there. So we've got to do more than just be in the streets. In my opinion, the real battle is what you do after the protest. Are you writing your congressman? Are you going to visit your congressman? Are you visiting your state representatives, your local representatives? You've got to hold them accountable. And if they're not held accountable, why should they develop policies that we want?
I will
Because they
say
don't have to. Yeah.
the concept side of it. Um, I agree with change starts after a protest, but I do
Mm-hmm.
think that protests are very important, especially for someone like me. I've never written a local politician. To be honest, I'm not too political savvy. It's not like my number one thing that I'm amazing at or know the most about. I'm pretty aware, of course, of what's going on. But for someone like me who may not be necessarily politically like super inclined, I think protest is a way for people to be able to express themselves still. And there are people like you who are out there who do want to write our congressman and do want to write so and so. But I do think that protest is a good start, and I do think that protesting is a good way to show what you stand for.
Well, like I said, you know me. I'm out there in any major protest. I'm still out there. I'm
But
out there with it.
the women's protest when Trump got elected, and he was there before I even got there. You were there at like 8 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm there. The point I'm making is in my own personal experience.
Of
You know,
course.
I've I've been at the Million Man March. You name the march, especially since I live here in right outside DC. Any major march, I'm there. I'm at all of them. But what frustrates me, and this will put it in a nutshell, this is what highlights it more than anything for me. My mother and her sister, your aunt and your grandmother, they marched on DC when Dr. King made that speech back in 1960, I think 1963. Okay, I marched in countless marches on DC. I've been Million Man March, like I said, you name it, I've been there. Now you're marching,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what drives it home for me. I'm sick and tired of having to go march again. That's why I'm saying this, is that we have to do more than march, because
Right. That was a good point.
the powers that be will just sit back and just wait until that fervor dies down and go right back to doing what they've been doing. So we have to hold them accountable moving forward. They have to know that somebody's looking over their shoulder. Not that they'll look at the TV. Oh, nobody's protesting now, so the coast is clear. We can go back to doing more of what we've been doing.
True. That's true. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're still hiding, what is it, in sheep's clothing or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So, what is some advice that you would give to young adults right now that are looking to make a change in what's going on in Black Lives Matter?
Well, I love the enthusiasm. I think it's outstanding. The enthusiasm and the commitment, as I said, outstanding. Uh, I think it just ties into what I've already just said,
Right.
is that, yes, it needs to be integrated. I guess that's what I'm saying. I said, for me, the
Okay.
protesting is great, but without the other end of it, it's half baked because as I said, this has happened over and over and over and over and over and over again, and the result is the same all the time. So you know, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna keep getting what you're getting. So instead of just protesting, we need to protest and then follow it up with organized, integrated accountability for the decision makers. And of course, the ultimate equalizer is the vote. We got to get these folks out of office, and we've got that vote, and we can't let them abridge our vote. That's one thing. We can get all motivated to go vote, but then you go vote, and there's an 8-hour line. So
Um,
you just can't wait to vote. That's what I'm saying. You really got to make sure you got everything in order because you can bet your life as we speak. They're plotting how they can keep you from voting and keep me from voting. So
as
we've got to look at that. Yeah.
any way that they can to,
Yeah.
keep going out there or going out there and not being able to do what you came there to do.
Right.
305.
And,
Um,
and
go on.
if I may, the other thing I'll say, I'm sure most of your audience is probably, in the metropolitan DMV, but I'm sure there's going to be some people from elsewhere in the country, some other states. You really need to pay attention to what your voting standard is going to be for November because it's not uniform. For instance, here in Maryland, we don't have that formal in-person voting. You have to request.
Right.
Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. Don't wait to exercise your vote. Go online to your state or local board of elections and find out what the voting criteria are. And if they're saying, well, our governor hasn't decided, like our governor here in Maryland just decided like within the last 2 weeks, but find out whatever that is and make sure that you're ready to vote the best way that you can. So, I mean, if you can get an absentee ballot, obviously that's the best thing to do.
That's
Because
what
if you just sit around and wait and say, well, I'm just going to wait and I'm going to vote a certain way that you think you can vote, you may not be able to vote that way. And
right.
then you may say, I'm not going to go wait on the line because I don't want to catch the virus. And there you go. They won. That's how they do it.
You're gonna say
You're ready to go, but they put up a roadblock. That's why we have to think smart. Think smart.
I like that. I'm gonna put that voting standards because I remember when I was at school, I wanted to make sure that I voted, and I remember I requested for an absentee ballot, and I remember a lot of people saying to me like, "Wow, you went through a lot just to like vote," and I'm like, "Well, I feel like my voice matters, or I want to see some change." So, but clearly that
Well, as I indicated earlier, one thing, since I'm a little older, I really grew up in the civil rights era. I mean, I grew up watching them down south, like our distinguished, boy, I can't think of his name right now. He just passed away last week.
oh,
Having a
John,
mental block. Right, right. You think about individuals like him that took blows to the head, that paid the heavy dues for the things that we take for, well, a lot of people take for granted now. A lot of us need to pause for a moment to just think about some of the dues that people pay just for simple things, like you're saying, voting. Some people say, well, I'm not going down there, I might get wet. People took blows to the head. People
for
died for people to have the right to vote. So anybody out there that's thinking about pussyfooting around in terms of voting because, I got something else to do,
the.
I want you to think about those that paved the way for you have that opportunity.
I even think about it for myself as being a woman and a black woman, but being a woman in general, women's suffrage, we had to go through so much 100 years ago to have our voices even heard. And then to be a black woman on top of that, I take my role like that very seriously. I'm thankful that my first time being able to vote at 18 was for Obama's second election. I'm very thankful that that's my first time. And for people who are just now turning 18 and being able to vote, make sure you're paying attention to the things that are being said, because this is a very important time and it could be a lot of pressure. Some people are scared, but make sure you do your research and make sure you know what you're doing and you know who you're voting for, because come November, it's very important that we get a certain somebody out of office.
One thing I want to jump in while I'm thinking about it, I don't know
Yeah.
if you had a question about this or not, is, we just got finished talking about voting. But I think we really need to underscore how important the economic side of things
Mhm.
are. And it's time, I mean, you can link this in with voting. I mean,
It's
there's so many different topics you can relate in with voting. But all you need to do is look at the net worth of the average African American here in this country, or any other minority for that matter, versus someone of the majority persuasion,
Mhm.
and you'll see that you can get somebody in the majority persuasion that doesn't even have that has a high school diploma versus an African American or other minority that has a master's degree or something like that. And it's just amazing the difference in earning power relative to what they bring to the table.
Mhm.
You look at things like that. You look at what's going on with this COVID-19 virus. Who's dying? Now, I don't want to come across that I'm anti-majority, but
No,
I'm just looking at the facts.
I was gonna
Nothing,
say dating.
like an old police show, nothing but the facts. Just look at the facts. And unfortunately, the leadership of this country right now is of a persuasion where they're doing everything they can to make the victims the criminals.
Mhm.
And we have to be cognizant of this fact. Um, it's nothing new, but again, you look at the economics, you see what's happening right now. The moratorium on people paying rent has expired, and there's a lot of
Oh,
people and there's a whole lot of us that fall into that category. So these kind of things I'm talking about accountability. Rather than like I said, excuse my French, bitching and whining at our dinner tables, we've got to step up and make these people held accountable. Because I guarantee you, if a congressman or a city councilman or a county councilman comes to their office on Monday morning and they see 50 people sitting in the hallway, you know, ready to meet with them, and you don't have to be nasty, and that's
no,
my whole point. You don't have to be nasty,
other
but
person have your
the
point.
biggest fear out there will be for an organized, intelligent, well thought out confrontation. All you
That
have to do is look what happened with AOC this week.
mm, drops the mic.
That's how, yeah, she could have came back and but no, she had a very rational, well reasoned argument, and like you said, dropped the mic when she was done.
I
Timber.
That's where uh, you can't confuse confrontation with aggression. And I feel like doing things like that gets your point across way more than being argumentative and making sure you shove your opinion down the opponent's throat. I don't think that's the
Right,
point.
right.
Let's see, we got a question. Do you believe enough is being done to preventing election interference from foreign governments? And if not, how do you believe that will or may impact the minority vote this fall?
This is just my opinion, and I don't claim to have all the facts in front of me. I'm not a member of the Intelligence Committee, but what I will say is, from what I'm seeing, and I've watched CNN and MSNBC and even Fox from time to time just to get a well balanced feedback, is I'm concerned. I'm concerned because our administration has been public about that there's no problem, there's no interference. And again, in my opinion, when you have an administration that's part of the problem as opposed to part of the solution, that can pardon people that have pleaded guilty twice to different crimes they've committed, and everything appears to be subversive and underhanded, I wouldn't trust them any further than I can throw them, which wouldn't be too far. So to answer your question, I have no question in my mind that
Yeah.
they're doing everything that they can
To interfere.
to impact our vote. There's no question about it. So that's why I'm saying we need to do everything that we can. We've got 99, 100 days left to really stay on the case and hold people accountable. And the other thing I'll say is, in many respects, and I'll say Trump, the election of President Trump, in many respects, is the best thing that could happen to us
I
because
all the
he
time.
he is just the pinnacle of the problem. He was just able to be the lightning rod for that portion of our electorate that subscribes to his opinion. We got
Yep.
Nazis. We got all these people. World
Yes.
War II. We had a world war fought to put down the Nazis. Now we have Nazis right here in America, and
Yep.
and our president supporting them. So I mean, what more needs to be said? The same people that are crying the blues about their Second Amendment rights and their First Amendment rights are the same people that are supporting these Nazis. But when you're blind, you can't see the light.
Do you believe that Biden would benefit by announcing that people such as AOC would be a part of his administration to help energize the younger voters?
I love AOC. I can do that. And again, unfortunately, with politics, and I'll just put this little ad lib in here. I originally planned on going into politics myself. That's why I majored
Oh,
in
I
government and also, went for public administration. I originally planned on having a career in politics. But when I first got out of school and came back home to Plainfield, New Jersey, the then current mayor there basically became my mentor. And he put me on several local committees, with me to learn and see how things went on. And he was going to be named the head of the New Jersey Department of Health and Human Services, and he was going to bring me down there. Well, after, a few months of serving on some of these committees, and seeing what was happening behind closed doors and then in these groups, I knew in my own heart and mind that I couldn't subjugate my personal integrity for some of the things that I was seeing for me to get to where I wanted to get, for me to get to where I really wanted to get. And I'm very ambitious, if you don't pick up on that. I
they
wasn't going to I wasn't going to compromise. My integrity was not for sale. So yeah.
are. And that's important. That's important to hear as well. Um, well, I kind of want to wrap things up just because I know that the timer is probably going to count down to me having a minute soon or a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So, I want to give you the floor, Dad, to, say the services that you do provide. And I also just kind of want to give you the floor to be able to wrap up, everything that we discussed today.
Okay. Well, I'll get my little advertisement in, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, as noted, I retired from the Small Business Administration a year ago. It's right at a year ago. During my tenure there, I have a lot of very good colleagues and friends that I still stay in contact with, as well as, some small business owners. And I was involved in a few programs. I was involved in the 8A contracting program, which is the largest contracting program by the federal government for minority small businesses. And, in recent years, it has also incorporated women. I was in the Hub Zone program, which provides benefits and preferences to small businesses located in certain areas of the country, deprived and depressed areas in the country. I served in the Small Business Investment Company program, which is basically a public venture capital program. And the last 15 years in the SBA, I was the head of the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer programs, which is the biggest seed capital program in the country. Now, I did, as I indicated, I had the Liberty Tax franchise while I was at SBA. I also continued, I'm a licensed investment broker. I continued to do my investments, et cetera. That was my primary focus. Around the mid 90s, I started my law firm, but I really didn't do that much with it because, needless to say, I already had my hands full. But now that I'm retired, I'm spending my full time, besides having fun, um, on my law firm, law office of Etzel Brown Jr.
Right back.
I'm based on K Street in Washington, D.C. We focus on business, set up your business, help you run your business, documentation. I can serve as general counsel. We do a lot of things. Also, entertainment law. I've got several entertainment clients. One of which is a leading Emmy Award winner, Mr. Dante James. He's got about 10 projects that he's working. And I also established a business consulting business, Edsel and Brown Jr. Group, which basically provides the services that I did when I was at SBA. We do 8A certifications, Hub Zone, Women-Owned Small Business, Veterans-Owned Small Business, All Small Business, Men and Protege programs. And I'm also an accredited small business consultant. I did that since I retired, keep me busy.
Yeah.
And, so,
I'll
for,
take a picture.
right. So for me, you only go around once. You don't
Yeah.
want to be looking back saying I woulda, coulda, shoulda.
No.
My philosophy has always been, and my parents instilled in me is, go for it. And I guess the last thing I would say, especially in terms of business, is pursue your dream, because if you don't, you're going to be working, helping somebody meet their dream instead of your own. And they're not going to pay you as much as you're going to get for pursuing your own dream. So why not go after your own dream?
Well, that was great. And you guys wonder where I get my ambition from. Clearly, from my father. Well, I pinned my dad's website down at the bottom. So if you guys are interested in any of his services, please click on that link. If you want to ask him anything personal or extend on, the conversation that we had today, please follow his Instagram account as well. Do you mind this account, Dad, or your other account as well?
That's fine. I'll get it.
Look, he has 10 accounts. I can't keep up.
Hmm.
So yeah, go ahead and check his website out if you guys are interested in that. And I appreciate you guys for watching me again for Sunset Talks with the Gift of Gab with Edsel Brown. So thank you guys. Have a great week. And thank you, Dad, for coming onto the show and sharing some
My
insight.
pleasure.
You guys have a good one. Bye.
Bye.